Dexter New Blood is finally over. We have gotten the finale now, and I'm here to tell you why I loved it. Even though I'm still conflicted on certain things, this was the grand thing that I wanted more of from Dexter. And while I don't fully agree with everything from that ending, I understand how we got to here. I knew it was going to come to that point at least somehow. And I'm just excited to talk about Dexter because I've actually never spoken about Dexter on my channel before. But I'm really excited to see what other people who watch this channel, what they think about Dexter in general. If you're new to this channel, I want to hear your guys' thoughts because I need to hear this. I just finished the episode. I'm going off the cuff on this, and we're just going to talk about this whole entire season in general, my general thoughts. I am going to speak spoilers, so if you are not caught up, make sure to go watch the entirety of Dexter and Dexter New Blood, because I'm going to spoil the entire thing. Not going to go point by point, but I'm really much going to give you guys my reasoning for why I loved Dexter New Blood, and that's what we're going to be talking about right now. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts. If you disagree with me, that's totally fine. I can totally understand and see that why. But I think we can all agree that this was a way better conclusion than Dexter Season 8, which left me absolutely soured. Because as a point of reference, when I saw that original trilogy, that original series of Dexter, I loved it. And it was to the point where, like, I had a friend telling me to watch the show for such a long time, but I was spoiled. I knew majority of the things that were going to happen besides Season 7, Season 8. Those were the only two seasons I didn't know anything about. I knew the Trinity Killer, I knew the death of his wife, I knew all that sorts of things, and it was still so surprising, and I never thought the show really hit the limits of what Season 4 had done. Season 4 is one of the best seasons of television that I've ever watched in my entire life, and I think that's probably a lot for you guys as well. And then Season 5, Season 6, Season 7, I thought were good to decent, but nothing of that level. And then Season 8 came around, and I watched that thing, and I was utterly disappointed. I thought it started out strong. I was like, I can see where this is going to go great. And then it just never really went into the direction that I wanted it to, or even in general, the direction I think any of us fans wanted to. It left so many unopened, answered questions out there that I just sat there disappointed and wanting more from Dexter. It seemed like his story was not done, and I've been actually waiting for a reunion, a revival, a movie, something of this nature to come to Showtime. And when it was finally announced that we were going to be getting Dexter New Blood this year, I was hyped out of my mind. I'm like, here we go. But it was always vague. Is this a season finale? Is this a series finale? Is this a mini-series? What is it? Because from certain press releases, it says season, some say series. They're also vague on what this is. And they still are vague to this point. Even one of the writers of the show tweeted out on Monday, I have something important to share. The ratings were great for this. I have a gut feeling that they are going to be continuing the show to some capacity. We will talk about that, and if in general I do want that. But for me, watching this, Dexter New Blood gave me exactly everything I wanted this show to be and more, for specifically the reason that I got to see more of Dexter Morgan or Jim Lindsay throughout this entire thing. And one of the things I have to give credit where credit is due is Michael C. Hall's performance. He absolutely camouflages and returns back to Dexter Morgan, the Dexter Morgan that we all knew and loved, but in a new dynamic way, because once Harrison comes back into his life, his son that we knew and loved as well came in. It was like, how is this going to affect him? Now, there was a lot of theories thinking maybe Harrison had killed Hannah. That was another element of the story that I actually do wish Hannah would have came into here in a little bit more of a way. Killing her off screen, I wasn't the biggest fan of, honestly. Even though, again, I don't know how they would have fit her into the season. I would have just liked to see at least Ivania come back as her, because I was a really big fan of her in those seasons. And I thought she was one of the best parts of those. And I thought it made sense for Dexter's story. And that's where I kind of just wish maybe she didn't die off screen. But again, she died. That was it. And, you know, it's between him and this relationship now with his son and how he's supposed to mend that, as well as adding into this all with the likes of his girlfriend, who is played by Jamie Jones, who is the officer, the sheriff, this is entire town in the small Ironwood town, which there's like, what, a population of like 2,000 or something like that. It's such a tiny town. Everyone knows each other. And there's this whole dynamic in there that I thought was, again, interesting, setting up, building, and doing what the original seasons of Dexter had done. I would say this is up there with some of the greatest moments of Dexter. And I also do think it might be rushed at a couple points, because one of the biggest things of this entire thing is Mr. Krabs himself he plays Caldwell, whatever. He plays Kurt, and Kurt becomes the pretty much main villain of this entire series. Now, as we were kind of announcing that he was going to be in the show, I obviously knew this guy was going to be a cynical, sick bastard the second he came in. You don't get this dynamic actor to come in here and play it, and I thought he did a fantastic job. All the performances across the board were fantastic, and there were moments that I screamed. I love when Angel Batista came back in. I thought that was a great cameo within the finale, and of course when she goes to that cop con. I love the podcast vibe of it because horror and crime podcasts are such a big dynamic thing now in our general population. My girlfriend is obsessed with those, and I thought, again, that was another dynamic element to add to the entire story that really much adds a lot of different, how this world has pretty much changed since Dexter Morgan was the Bay Harbor Butcher, and how he is now Jim Lindsay in this town. Seeing how this show had started, it started in a very slow, meandering pace, catching us back up. What has Dexter been up to? How has he been acting? Who is he now in this town? And seeing how that very slowly twists and turns into this very dark element of it all. And again, as the wheels start to turning, as his son and him start to bond a little bit more, and how he wants to come to the piece of just telling his son who he is, I thought that was really interesting. And honestly, having his sister come back to play, in a sense, his consciousness, I thought was one of the best elements of this entire series. At times, I thought it was a little bit too comedic and maybe didn't work fully, but even then, I just loved having her back, and I thought overall it did work. And towards the end, as his dark passenger came back, and it was more of him talking to himself, that's when it came back out to be. The thing I really want to talk about, though, is this entire finale. I clicked the finale, I'm sitting there, I don't know if this is going to be the end of Dexter, I don't know if there's going to be more after this, going into this, that's where I was kind of left up in the air, and I kind of wish going in I knew if it was going to be one or the other. I don't like that they kind of just left it open overall in certain vibes and actually left certain questions, but I do feel more conclusive with it all, and less conflicted than I did in the moment of Harrison killing Dexter. And I thought that was a moment that, when it started to happen, I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this, I don't know how to feel about this. But once he gets that note and he starts reading in the monologue over Michael C. Hall, over the finale of the episode, I was sitting there, I was like, okay, I'm into this. I dig it, I don't love it, I don't hate it, I like it. But I still loved this entire season. And I think it is maybe, if I really think about it, I think it's actually the third or fourth best season of Dexter yet. And I think that is where I really love it, is because not just because of the performances, but because of the build-up. The way they build up and subtly build up these characters, and then again, finding out who Kurt really is, and then finding out how Kurt and Dexter are at odds, and how Kurt is trying to figure out that Jim Lindsay or Dexter Morgan was the one that ended up killing his sons, and the titanium nails and the screws and all sorts of things, and how that plays into. And then at the same time, Dexter has his smart freaking deputy girlfriend figuring this all out at the same time, and then her needing him at the same exact moment. That is why I loved it, was the buildup of all these things, and that anxiety-inducing feeling that Dexter gave me back in those first 4 seasons. I felt full-fledged here all the way up until the finale, and the finale of this episode, and I was just so engrossed the entire way through. Again, this is more of a ramble than anything of that nature, but I did love this season, and it brought back my love of Dexter. And reading on Twitter, seeing some people weren't the biggest fans of this episode, and some people were really much, I can see this being very conflicted for some. Some people probably wanted Dexter to get away. Some people probably wanted him to get the death penalty, or some way, shape, and form, him die in some other way except by his son, because his son has been a big piece of this show that I don't think fully worked. I think the performance from the kid is good, but the reason that I don't think is because the pacing of the show worked really well for everything else. Kurt, the sheriff finding out, everything of that nature, but everything between him and his son, I wish his son had found out earlier on and built that. It felt like he found out too late in the show to really further that development. Now, don't get me wrong, when he finds out, I loved that moment to pieces. And I love the next episode of seeing how that whole entire thing goes, of how they go to kill Kurt together, and how he's kind of teaching him his dark passenger. And the whole thing of showing back how those flashbacks to Florida and him killing the clown guy. Those were great. And those were elements that I thought were phenomenally input inside this episode. But then adding into there, Dexter, just like he had started out in the season, a little bit rusty on how he's supposed to be and hiding these bodies and killing people. And when it really came down to be at this point in time, the thing that was very much intense was when it came down to the ending of how he's going to get out of this jail cell. He calls, I think his name's Troy, the coach, comes in. The coach wants to know what's going on after he told Angela, hey, Kurt has all of this evidence, go and see it, and you'll see. And she's freaking out. She's having an anxiety attack. But she sees what this was going to. He ends up telling him, I don't want to do anything. And he ends up killing him, which I didn't fully love that. But again, in this moment of what is most important to Dexter, getting out alive and staying alive and keeping his son and having that father-son relationship, or going to prison and never seeing his son together. Like that is a big element of it all that I thought was important. And I understand why he made that decision, but in my frank mind, I feel like Dexter has never made a decision like that before. But he honestly, if we really think about it, he actually has, because of certain things and other people that he has killed indirectly of certain choices that he has made. But Troy didn't do anything. Why did you just knock him out? But ends up killing him, takes the keys, and pretty much leaves from then on and goes to find his son, tells his son to meet me there. Son puts the words together that he had killed the coach. He was like, I'm just trying to do it. And the son picks up the gun. He goes, if you're not coming with me, I'm going. I'm not turning myself in. And, you know, it ends up in the big discussion fight. And he goes, take the safety off and kill me. I'm not going any other way. Harrison ends up killing him. Angela finds him, gives him money, and says, get out of here. I can't see you. I can't say anything of this. I can't tell my daughter that you said goodbye. You need to get out of here. And at the end, he takes the note. The whole note goes about, and he's leaving town in that moment. And for me, this was, again, performance really good in Harrison. And I wish they just would have written his character a little bit faster, given his character that subtle notity of what is going on. I thought that would have been better. And maybe Hannah could have told him. I don't know. There's elements in there that I wish they would have just written a little bit better. I think it just took too much time in that relationship building. I thought it could have been figured out a couple episodes before that. But anyways, this is what started to actually make me come to the conclusion that I loved this finale. And I love that this is the end of Dexter Morgan's story. Again, he was either going to die or go to prison. Like, it was one or the other options. Like, there was no other way of killing him. And even when I watched the original series, that was the only way that I could think that he could get out of it. Yeah, you could have given him a happy ending. Like, no doubt about it. You could have given him that. But is that really what Dexter's all about? He's a sarcastic, cynical serial killer. Like, that's who he is. But he is one that was doing what was for justice. And I think those are the things that makes us so intrigued while watching this. And again, that note that he left, that he was supposed to send Hannah, and then Harrison's reading. And it was just, the emotions on Harrison was so much. And that's where we come down to this conclusion. It ends there. It cuts to black. Dexter is dead. Harrison is out of Ironwood. Or Iron Lake. Why do I keep saying Ironwood? It's Iron Lake. And they go on from there. Where is it to go with Harrison? Does he control his dark passenger? Does he have his dark passenger? Is there even a story to tell there? That's what's going to be interesting, I think, to really think about. Does he end up going to LA? Is there somewhere else he ends up going? This is where I kind of want to get down to and talk about, is there a future with this series? The writers said that they have something announced on Monday. I'm going to be honest, I don't want to see it. I think this was it. I don't really care to see where Harrison's story goes. I can just assume that he went out there and started a new life or something of that nature. Maybe a TV movie, maybe one more season. I just didn't love the character enough to want to follow him. But I could be proven wrong. Maybe the writing will be great and we'll be able to see where this goes. And maybe instead of having Deb be Dexter's conscious, maybe Dexter is his son's consciousness. I don't know. It's just, if you end up doing that, then I think we kind of get into the conclusion of, okay, then it's just a retread of Dexter. I could be wrong on that. Those are just my theories, and maybe you guys have different thoughts of where the series could go, but I thought this was an excellent conclusion. I absolutely loved this season finale, series finale, Dexter's finale in general, and I loved Dexter New Blood. This feels exactly what I wanted Season 8 to be for the finale of Dexter, and while, again, even though that is canon, if I end up, I'm going to go back and rewatch all of Dexter, I'm going to include New Blood in there, and I thought, again, it was a perfect conclusion to Dexter Morgan's story. Would have liked a little bit more with the two characters, but nothing's perfect. There's always going to be nitpicks, but when it come down to the anxiousness, the stressfulness, the villain of this season being not just Kurt, but also in general, all the elements of Dexter's life finally coming to bed, and his girlfriend being the one to figure it out and kind of, in a sense, take him down, I thought was really empowering, and just Michael C. Hall absolutely killed it. I'm going to miss him in this role, but I'm so happy that I can officially say that, yeah, Dexter's one of my favorite shows of all time, because I have that conclusion that I want. Not every long-term show has some of the best seasons, but I'm really happy that we got this conclusion. As fans, we deserved it, and I'm so happy to have you guys with this. Thank you so much for watching this. This is a video that I just had to put up. I had to get my thoughts out there. I had to ramble. I'm not going to do much editing with this because I don't feel like I need to. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. But again, let me know down below, guys, what your guys' thoughts are on this episode and in general, all of Dexter, New Blood, all of Dexter. Do you disagree with me? Do you hate this? Do you love it? Let's discuss it all down below, guys. Thank you once again for watching this, and of course, until next time, stay classy.